Everyone, a bit of change of location today. My parents are asleep, so I'd like to just not disturb them as much as I possibly can. So here we go. Rouge. Now I know that if you're watching this from that guy with glasses, you probably know that he did do a review of this movie, and it wasn't necessarily a positive review. Let's just say that for the most part. It was pretty negative towards this movie, and it's literally on the top of what Nostalgia Critic does not like. He legitimately does not like this movie in particular. Now for me, after watching it again, because I haven't actually watched this film in a while, so after watching it again, I can say that I still like it. I think it's okay. It's not, I don't think it's super. I don't think it's like the top of movies or, really high up there. I don't think it's great, but for the most part, I was satisfied with it. Now, there may be people that may not be satisfied with this movie, and there may be certain reasons why. But I am going to make a little bit of a response, sort of, to the Nostalgia Critic's criticism. One's particular parts that I wanted to kind of respond, or what would be my response to that kind of criticism of it. But basically, the movie is about and stars Ewan McGregor and Nicole Kidman as the two main leads. Ewan McGregor plays a writer, and Nicole Kidman plays a prostitute / actress, or wannabe actress, named Satine. And they end up falling in love with each other, and this Duke comes into play and sort of creates this love triangle. But again, it's not really a love triangle in the sense that Nicole Kidman doesn't know who she wants. She obviously wants Ewan McGregor, but the Duke is kind of competing with him, sort of, in a way, and you'll see how kind of that all plays out if you choose to watch the film. And for the most part, what I can say is that overall, I was okay with this movie. But there's some of the particular things I want to go into of the Nostalgia Critic side. First, he said that that he kind of didn't understand why there was this investment, and that why they needed the Duke for that investment. My response to that kind of criticism would be that yes, there were other men that were throwing money at Nicole Kidman at one point when her character is introduced. And the Nostalgia Critic took this criticism that was like, well, why didn't they rely on those people? I mean, they were literally throwing money at her. So the thing is that an investment isn't just something that you just give money and then that's it. Sometimes investments require more than just giving money and then leaving. The Duke wanted to invest, or was a potential investor. So the point was that he would make it sort of a long-term commitment, and obviously that's can be done through like a deed, which you will see in the movie. So my response to that criticism would be is that sometimes investments require more than just a handout of money. They require sometimes someone to have some power and to provide long-term kind of assistance and help so that other business can succeed and do well. You will probably notice this by Facebook if you watch The Social Network. There are times when Mark Zuckerberg has to go to like these top-notch executives and basically ask them if they would be willing to invest. And an investment sometimes requires long term. And, a lot of advertising comes through Facebook. And a lot of Facebook's money is generated through advertising. And there's like a lot of advertisements now on Facebook. Like literally you can watch advertisements. Like I see like before the login page, there's like an advertisement. And I could just click on that advertisement and watch that advertisement because that's how Facebook makes their revenue. It's by these long-term investments that these companies make into Facebook so that they put up their ads and so that people may go out and buy the products. And so Facebook gets money for that, for the most part, and gets money for how many people that they can get. So yes, I think that to make that kind of criticism is not valid. I mean, maybe there could have been somebody else that was willing to lay down the table, but they knew that the Duke was willing to do it. They knew that he was willing to be a big investor, and he was the only one that was going to lay that down. So that's what would be my response to that criticism. There's one point also in the movie where the nostalgia critic makes a point of how the songs aren't necessarily new. And what I mean by new is that these are older songs. These are not made up songs. And again, this is a musical-esque type movie, so they're singing, dancing, musical numbers, and they're not of made up songs that the artists made up. They just did them in their own way. And for the most part, I kind of understand why they decided to do that. I think it was because during this time period they never heard of such music. They never had those kinds of experiences. So, from what I can tell and what I'm saying, is that this movie is trying to sort of emphasize what we may see as ordinary, they see as extraordinary, because it's something that they haven't heard of or experienced. And it's kind of similar to the emotion of love and how, it's not until we experience it that we know, like, how great it can be. We often sometimes take love for granted even. So I think that the whole emphasis on that is just to show you, like, how grand love can be. And love is a really big emphasis in this movie. So if you don't like love, then you're probably not going to particularly like this movie. Romantic love, per se. So yes, that's I think a big point to hammer down. But for the most part, I don't mind if they redo songs. I don't mind, just as long as they are doing it with a purpose and a significance. Then I think it's okay. Sometimes I think the songs were like, I don't know why they would pick that song. Like at one point they're singing Nirvana. Smells Like Teen Spirit, and I thought that was just so funny because it just came out so randomly, and I was like, okay, I can maybe understand, they're trying to get like the atmosphere down, and that kind of emboldens a little bit the atmosphere, but it was kind of short, and I thought it was just kind of amusing, so maybe some things may be a little bit out of place as far as song choice goes, maybe according to how you perceive it, but for the most part, I was okay with the song choices. I didn't mind them doing the same song. Songs that we've already heard of. Don't mind that. And I think Ewan McGregor and Nicole Kidman have nice voices, so if they can sing and be good songs, why not? So for me, that's not a big deal. That didn't bother me really that much. So yes, and I think he also, and this is a really big point that he and the nostalgia chick, because she did the review with him as well, they brought up this point of like how they didn't like the character's reaction to certain instances. There's one point where the nostalgia critic doesn't like that Satine doesn't tell Ewan McGregor the truth about something. But the reason Nicole Kidman lies is she's doing it for the greater good for him. She's doing it because she loves him. So legitimately in her mind, it's for the greater good. It's for him. And he thinks that she should have done the other decision. She should have, said the truth. And also I have to defend her also on another part, because literally it wasn't just her choice. I mean, another character who's also you'll find really impacting, the one that's in charge of the Moulin Rouge. He basically kind of tells her that this is the right thing to do, and she kind of looks to him as a father figure, and you'll kind of see that in the film. And he really hammers this point, like you should lie to save him. You should do this because it's the right thing to do, and it'll help him. It'll help him. It's the best thing for him because it's going to make him live. That the life he has is more important than your love for him. That's, I think, the big point that they were trying to get across. And because her love's so great, she has to sacrifice truth. So it really emphasizes how love is a really strong point. Love is a very complicated emotion. It's not like this simple thing. And I think the movie was doing a good job trying to emphasize, the differences, than usually what other people do is they either make love simple or they make it very complex. And I liked how this movie was trying to make it as complex as they could. So for the most part, I wasn't mad at her choice. I mean, I wasn't mad at her character for doing that. I mean, because I felt like legitimately in her mind, she felt like it was a good thing. It was the right thing. That her love isn't as important as his existence in his life, because he is a greater thing to her, or she feels like he's a greater thing to her than she is to herself. So that's, I think, the whole point of why she chose to make that decision. Now, sausage critic got mad at Ewan McGregor's reaction to Nicole Kidman's lie that she tells in the movie. And she gets mad at this particular lie because she feels like it wasn't the right reaction and that it wasn't appropriate. And I understand this criticism. I understand the point that, it's that maybe Ewan McGregor shouldn't have maybe said the words that he said in response to Nicole Kidman's kind of lie. And this is a scene where I'm talking about where he's on the stage and he basically, throws money at her and says some things, which if you watch the film, you'll understand everything that I'm saying here. But I think that's just a normal human reaction. I think that sometimes love is just really complicated, and sometimes, people's emotions get in the way and that people can have these kinds of reactions. Like, decent people can be traumatized by these things and be really hurt and feel like that they have to take that negative energy out on the other person because they feel so hurt by it. And that's kind of the whole point. I don't think it really delegitimizes Ewan McGregor's character. I just think it wasn't the most appropriate reaction, but it's to say that it's not realistic, I think it's wishful thinking, because again, we're human beings, and sometimes we make mistakes, and sometimes we don't say the things that we want to say, and that sometimes we hurt the people we love. We do. It's just how it happens, because life can get so complicated. That's the point, is that life's complicated, and love gets in the way, and everything else gets in the way. And sometimes those other emotions can get in the way of love and mess us up sometimes. So yeah, for the most part, I mean, I wasn't really offended at Ewan McGregor's reaction. I mean, I was kind of, a little taken aback, because I mean, what he said was kind of maybe a little bit harsh, but for the most part, I kind of understood that even though it's not the nicest reaction, it's a realistic reaction. So I mean, those were really the main legitimate criticisms that I think were brought up by these two. And reasons for why I like the movie is I like the songs. I like Ewan McGregor's voice. I mean, his voice is just great. I think he even has, I don't even know if he still has this, but I think he still has a YouTube channel where you can watch him play guitar, and I think he does some singing too. And get me some Ewan McGregor and I'll be happy. And Nicole Kidman, I think she did a good job too. I think the acting was good. I thought the emotions were there. I think they played them off really well. I think that they had chemistry in this unique kind of way. Yeah, and I didn't really find anything that horrible about it. About the singing and the acting or the dancing, I thought was really good too. Especially the whole Roxanne bit. I thought that was like a perfect song to emphasize the whole point of jealousy. If you listen to the song Roxanne, you'll realize that the person is saying like, you don't have to put on that dress tonight. You know, you don't have to you don't have to live your life selling yourself. You know, you can be with me. That's kind of the whole point in like jealousy, and that's what Ewan McGregor was feeling. So it was I think a perfect choice to emphasize that. And I thought the dancing was really good, and I thought the singing was really good, and I think there was a lot of heart and passion and emotion put into it, as well as a lot of other musical numbers that were in this film. What else can I try to emphasize? More emphasis on other things. For the most part, I will say, though, that this movie isn't free from flaws, obviously. Again, I'm going to criticize this movie. Again, this is not just like, yeah, everything's perfect. No, every film is flawed. Movies are made by human beings. Human beings are flawed people. So obviously, you're not going to get a perfect piece of work every time. And not every time is everything going to be as great or going to be as well recognized or for whatever reason. The point being is that the camera can get a little bit like this. It does get a little bit and like tries to angle at times, and it can get a little bit too much for some people. For me, it kind of got at the edge at times where it did kind of maybe bother me, but for the most part, I was okay with it. There are some scenes where you kind of feel like this awkwardness, like it's kind of awkward. Like you don't really understand it so much, and that can be that kind of reaction that it is a little bit awkward. But you have to understand this movie is very irrational. This movie is no way a realistic interpretation of things. It's taking things from a really irrational perspective. It's really taking things within that we can come up with in our minds and putting it on screen. It's not about realism. But I think the camera, for the most part, I think it's done with purpose. I mean, this is the Moulin Rouge. Obviously, things are a little bit crazy. Things aren't like, still you're not going to go through the room just like, you're going to go through the room like this. So I think it's done with purpose. Now, if it was in like a crime drama, that probably wouldn't be the most appropriate. Probably wouldn't be the best. But may bother some people. The also thing that kind of bothered, and that too was kind of what bothered me too, is sort of the awkwardness at times. Sometimes it plays out funny. Sometimes it can be kind of charming and funny, and other times it was just a little bit awkward for me. Like I didn't really know how to feel. It just felt a little odd or off. But again, this movie isn't trying to be rational in any way, shape, or form. So again, if you're a really rational person and you like to have everything explained out for you, this movie isn't going to like explain things so on a rational level. It's going to explain things on a sort of irrational, emotional level. So be prepared for that if you decide to watch it. So what else can I say? For the most part, I can say that I came back liking it. I mean, I understand that some people may not feel the same, and that's totally fine. I was okay with it for the most part. I mean, I did enjoy the emotions. I did enjoy the acting. I got invested, and I think I was just invested with the concepts that they were coming up with, the ideas. I found it very appealing. So if the nostalgia critics allowed to not like this film, I'm allowed to not like Chicago. I didn't like Chicago, in particular, for various reasons. But the reason being is Chicago didn't really appeal to me. It didn't appeal to really my emotions. It didn't get me invested in the characters. I mean, for the most part, I didn't really like it, and I didn't think it really deserved the credit that it got, but it got credit. So, I'm not saying that, people can't like Chicago. Obviously, if you like Chicago, more power to you. It's just not my film. I just never got invested in anything. I just couldn't find anything that I really liked. I mean, I did like the dance work and the singing, but for the most part, everything else was just kind of couldn't really find anything to hold on to. I didn't really like the story. I didn't really like the themes in it. I didn't really care for any of the characters. I mean, in this, I felt more for the characters. I felt more for the story and what it was trying to say, and I felt a little bit more invested in things than I was ever in Chicago. So, again, everybody has their own tastes. One man's trash is another man's treasure. So, yes. But I'm not saying that this movie's a treasure. I mean, it does have flaws. I mean, I don't think it should have gotten, like, the awards that it was nominated for. Like, Nicole Kidman was nominated for acting. And I have to admit that and this is what I also wanted to bring up too, is that sometimes the characters can be a little bit over the top. I mean, Nicole Kidman's character is kind of quirky at times, and that can offset people and make people feel maybe awkward or out of place. The Duke, the villain in this movie, is kind of a little bit over the top. He's like this over the top ego, and he has a mustache to prove it. But I don't really mind over the topness. I think as long as you can kind of play it well, and even though the Duke was this kind of over top jerk, he still has some kind of amusing quality to him. I don't know what it was, but he still kind of remained really entertaining and just amusing. And Nicole Kidman's character, even though she was quirky at times, I mean, I think that could be like a trait that could be exhibited by people who have been in this kind of business that she's been in for quite some time. I mean, I think people can be a little bit over the top and quirky. And there are a lot of over the top characters, and Ewan McGregor is anything but over the top. He's very quiet, very more reserved, but he still has his charm to him, and he still has his flaws, like his jealousy and his anger. So again, this isn't like a perfect guy, obviously, and Nicole Kidman isn't a perfect woman either. So for the most part, I think the characters kind of balance out. They have their shades of gray. So for the most part, I was satisfied with it. But it can get a little bit over the top, and it did get a little bit over the top for me. So I think if they just kind of, made it a little bit more, then I would have enjoyed it more. But again, that may be what they were going for, and that's what they wanted. Because this movie is a little bit over the top. It tries to push the envelope on things. It tries to be an envelope pusher, and kind of make you maybe a little bit uncomfortable at times. But again, that can all be dependent upon opinion. For the most part, it may be considered a guilty pleasure for me by some, but I was okay with it. I enjoyed it. I didn't really find anything so horrible. Again, it's not perfect, but I didn't think it was so bad. I don't think it was as bad as nostalgia made it out to be. I understand that these emotions that people were going through were kind of hard to dissect, and may at times be a little bit obscure, and people may not understand their responses, not even like people's responses to certain situations. They might not like a character because they did respond in this way instead of responding in another way. But I think the fact that the characters did respond sometimes in a negative way, or didn't always do maybe the most, productive thing, maybe, they still were human. And I think that was an important thing to point out, is that humans are flawed, and that love has a way of reaching out to people and maybe finding that inner greater strength of good, and to make people realize that they don't have to give up love for anything, no matter what happens, even to the person we love. Sometimes we have to, understand that that sometimes it's okay to have certain emotional reactions, but then understand, people's true intentions, even if those intentions may be overshadowed by lies and deceit, or things of that nature. So for the most part, I was okay with the way they showed things. And yeah, I think that overall, I didn't come away hating Ewan Greg's character. I think he still really loved her, and I think he played that scene really well when he was crying. That scene was, I think it was really like a real actual cry. It wasn't the cry like, it really felt like he was crying, that he was sweating, and, all these things. And when Nicole Kidman feels like torn apart, you really do feel like she is. The actors, I think, do a good job of displaying the emotions. And I think the important thing is in this kind of movie, you have to do that, and I think the characters did well in that. But I think that's really all I can say about this film for the most part. It's not a magnificent film. And do I think it deserved the awards nominations? Not really. I don't think it's just one of those films, but at the same time, the things that they are addressing and the emotions that the characters display and the beauty of a lot of what they're trying to convey with the messages, I think are really interesting and really more profound and have a deeper meaning than something like Chicago that didn't really provide me with any of that kind of meaning. So yeah, I understand that we all have different opinions, and that, I'm no film expert, so I'm not a person who knows film so well, but I'm speaking this from my own personal opinion, and I believe that everybody really judges a film based upon their own personal opinion of it, and everybody has their own kind of guilty pleasures. Now you could say maybe that this is a guilty pleasure for me. Maybe that it does maybe have legitimate criticism, which I think there can be legitimate criticism made from it. But I think to say that it's completely horrible, like it's something like Garbage Pail Kids, or something like The Room. That's obviously not true. This film is nothing like The Room, and this film is nothing like Garbage Pail Kid, and it's nothing like Milk Money or any of that garbage. It's not. And usually the nostalgia critics know for making fun of really garbage pail kinds of movies. And to me, I don't think this film is really bad. It may not be perfect for people, and I did laugh when I laughed when he was making fun of it. And I can laugh at stuff like that. I don't get bitter just because he disagrees with me. But again, it's just different people have different tastes, and for me, I still like this movie. Is it free from flaws? Absolutely not. Again, humans make movies. Humans are flawed. Therefore, we cannot make a perfect film. And we cannot make a perfect film about love, and we can never make a perfect film about any other emotion or any other circumstance or any other plot point. But what we can do is we can try to provide something, and I think this film was trying to provide something, but to say that it wasn't even trying is, I don't think is really accurate compared to something like Garbage Pail Kids, where there's really nothing there. Or to compare it to the animated Titanic musical or anything of that nature. I kind of like it when he dives into those kinds of movies. But when he goes for like bigger fish like this one, I think. I mean, I thought the review was funny to a certain extent, but I didn't think it was that funny. I mean, it's not that I'm saying that because I like this film. It's not to say that, but it's to say that I didn't find the Nostalgia Critic's review that hilarious. Not as hilarious as something like when he does a review of Garbage Pail Kids or, something of that nature. So, for the most part, I can say that although his review was funny, I didn't find it so hilarious. I didn't think it was one of his best reviews, actually. But for the most part, I can say is that I did like this movie, and American public, sue me. I mean, if it's not that I'm saying that it's perfect. It's not. Another thing that should be addressed is I really liked the costumes. I mean, the costumes and the setup and everything. I liked how they made Paris look like some kind of unrealistic, different world. I thought that was cool. And how they made it kind of over the top, and again, it's just that kind of over the topness is not going to be something that everybody resonates with or everybody likes. And I think that really the Nostalgia Critics and the Nostalgia Critics kind of criticism was that everything was kind of over the top. A lot of their criticism was emphasized on this whole like over the topness, like the whole emotions and all that stuff, just so over the top. Like, don't shove it in our face. I understand that. But for me, I don't mind if those things get shoved in my face for once. I like it when people shove things in my face because people sometimes try to do that in order to make a point. So, yeah. But I think that's really all I can say about this movie. Any comments, questions, concerns, more than happy to answer them. But yeah. One man's trash is another man's treasure. And I will see you all tomorrow.